We are reviewing Roadhouse, the Doug Liman remake of the Patrick Swayze 80s classic. Now, this has not gotten theatrical release. It was dropped on Amazon, much to Doug Liman's dismay. But we're going to talk about it. Actually, before we talk about it, I've dropped a review for the Frozen Empire Ghostbusters, so check that out on the channel. And I did it in a short format. I'm doing this in a long format because I also have a little topic to segue into as well. But let me know if you sort of enjoy the long format reviews or the short format reviews. I love doing both. I don't mind doing both, but it's up to you guys. It's up to you guys. Obviously, if I don't get a response in particular to this question, I'll just judge it on the metrics and how well they perform. But I'll probably ride it out and sort of play it by ear, see how each each method, each format goes, just so as I sort of try and find my place in this sort of online movie space. But yeah, Roadhouse, we've had sort of two different varying opinions, and they feel like they're on two opposite sides of the spectrum. We've got the guy that's in his 40s who loved the original back in the 80s. Most of the movies they rewatch are from the 80s. And then we have the new viewer who probably expected a certain thing from this movie and just didn't like it. Or maybe they just didn't like it and they had no expectations and they just didn't like it. That's also a possibility. I'm sort of closer to this side. I'm not in the middle. I don't think it's awful at all. I'm not obsessed with it and think it's great like a lot of people are sort of proclaiming that sentiment. I'm more sort of 65, I would say, all the way there. It's a fun ride. It's a fun movie. You're gonna have fun watching this. Whether or not you take much from it, that's up to you. But I enjoyed a lot of aspects of it. I think Jake Gyllenhaal is insanely good. Like, you believe every time he's on screen, you believe like, oh yeah, you're probably the toughest guy in the room. Not because I think Jake Gyllenhaal is tough, but I think Duncan is tough, and he did that so well. The action choreography is brilliant. Like, it just felt like you feel every hit, like whether it's coming from a Connor, or whether it's coming from Jake or whoever, or the guy from the bar, the guy that sucked the hotel manager's dick in White Lotus. I forgot the actor's name, but you know what I'm talking about. I felt it. Whether it's also that sort of feeling like you're on the island with the I love how they built up, it felt lived in a little bit, because they've got that barricades in front of this sort of New Orleans type of music going on. Even though they were sort of covering Sublime, but it's fun that they had that sort of element there to prove that there's probably happened incidents before where people sort of try to get to the artists, and we've had people try and do it. So stuff like that I really enjoy seeing in movies. It just proves that there was at least a certain level of care. Do you know what I mean? At least a certain level of care, and it was exactly how you should do an 80s throwback, in terms of capturing the essence of the 80s, that coked up madness that was the 1980s, and doing it with its modern spin and doing it with your own take. You know what it reminds me of a sort of Lisa Frankenstein. They're nowhere near the same type of movie. They're probably not the same demographic at all, but the way they did that sort of 80s throwback rom-com and sort of horror element is similar to how they did the throwback 80s Roadhouse action vibes. It felt like they did it well. They did it in sense of let's keep sort of the essence of the 80s and things we liked about it, and then let's build on some things that might not work for this era. A lot like sort of the animation for the X-Men series, for example. But the sort of things that I didn't really like, a lot of it didn't make sense. There are a lot of moments where I'm like, no human being would ever do this. No human being would react this way to this situation. There's that. There's also the fact that I just think Connor cannot act. He's got charisma for days, don't get me wrong, but and Doug Liman does well where it's make use of him when you can. Make sure you shine his strengths and hide his weaknesses, which you should do with all subpart actors, and I think he's done that well. But it's still not enough to not show how weak Connor is as an actor, but he's charismatic as hell. So if you want Conor McGregor in a movie, this is the movie that he should be in. Like, if you're gonna sort of have to like take the crappy acting, but you get the like, I'm Conor fucking McGregor, like, come on and fight with me, eh? Like, you got all of that, like the Conor like essence, and that's probably the note Doug Liman told him. He's like, listen, bro, just be as Conor and as Irish as you can, and just go for it. And it worked to a certain degree. It definitely did work to a certain degree, but again, you just feel like, when he's actually like trying to portray something, you're just like, but it doesn't take you out that much. I don't think it takes you out that much. And also, Post Malone will never be hard. Like, I'm a fan of Post. I like his music, but he's not the guy that I'm expecting to be like beating the crap out of like some 300-pound man, which is how they open this movie. I just don't buy it. I just really don't buy it. Anyways, so I wasn't too like upset with Roadhouse. Wasn't mad that I like used up 2 hours of my time. It was a fun movie. A lot of glaring errors and sort of pacing issues and like just elements that just didn't make sense for that specific time and moment for the character, or that situation for the character. But overall, it's a fun ride. It's not like I wasn't bored at all, like I was sort of with Ghostbusters. And what I wanted to sort of lead this into is that, like, I just think Jake Gyllenhaal, especially after watching this, I get that same feeling that I did when I saw Robert Pattinson in Good Time, is where I'm just like, oh my god, this dude would be great as Batman. And I think Jake Gyllenhaal should be the DCU's Batman. Without a shadow of a doubt, he needs to be the DCU's Batman. The dude is around the right age that we're going for Brave and the Bold. He's got the ability, because we're hearing a lot of sort of like Alan Richardson, who I like, Blue Mountain State, Titans, like the Turtle movies. He's a good actor. He's a good actor. Is he good enough to be Bruce and Batman? Probably not. Like, he's got that sort of physical presence for Batman, and I think he'd make a great Batman, but I don't see him being able to sort of play the line between Bruce and Batman, being able to play Bruce as well. I just don't think he's got the chops to do it. I also, whenever I in my Batman actors, I don't need some big bodybuilder. I'm with the sort of like, let's go with the Michael Keaton approach of let's try and just cast an actor that sort of makes me feel like he's crazy enough to build a Batcave and put on a costume and fight mentally ill people. Which is that's not what Batman is about. Like, that's not all he's about. It might be a little bit, but there's a lot more philanthropy and all of that stuff that the movies don't really touch on as much. But I just think Jake would be great. He'd be great because he'd be so good at just playing this. Like, when I see him, especially in like Roadhouse, Nightcrawler, Zodiac, any performance, you just feel like there's something up with this dude. Like, there's something not right with this dude. He looks like he could snap any minute. But at the same time, he's got the suave and charisma of a Bruce. He's good looking, but he at the same time looks like he probably like would fit in very well in a mental institution. Like, and we wouldn't bat an eyelid. So I love that in my Batman. I want that in my Batman. There's like sad, like depressed actor that can relate to sad, depressed Bruce. So I just think Jake would be great. I think Jake would be great.